So are these movies worth your time? Let's find out. What is up, guys? I am back for another edition in the series of Are These Movies Worth Your Time or Are They Not? Still what I'm going with. Probably going to find a better title for this series, but like I said, we're making do with what we got. So I am coming back to you right now with a new trilogy of movies that I have watched along the week that I want to pass along to you and let you guys know if these movies are worth your time or if they're not. Some of you have probably already seen these films, some of you may not. I'm coming to you with one old film that is like 2 years old, and the other two are brand new movies that just released fairly recently. As you can tell by the title, the movies I'm going to be talking about today is Braven, Soul, and Wonder Woman 1984. Let's not waste any more time, let's get right into it with Braven. In this movie, Braven, our main protagonist of this film is a guy named Joe Braven, and he is played by Jason Momoa. As well as the director of this film is Lynn Oding, and from my knowledge, he is mainly a stunt coordinator. So to see him direct a film for I think the very first time, if not second or third, it's kind of cool to see that happen. And before I went into this movie, I had no knowledge of what I was getting myself into. So I just read the reviews and saw the score on Rotten Tomatoes or IMDb. And honestly, I was kind of skeptical of watching this film. A lot of people were talking not really great about it, and other people were saying it's a fun time. But what I got out of this film, I just want to tell you guys. When you go into this film, you need to turn off your brain and not question it. This is a short, hour-and-a-half movie, and all it is basically a movie filled with violence, honestly. It starts off very slow, but towards the middle, and especially the end, there's a lot of action sequences that, if you're a diehard action fan, I think you will get a kick out of this. I honestly enjoyed it, and basically the main premise, I'm going to give you a short synopsis of this film, is a guy named Joe Braven. He and his family live out in this very snowy area, and they want to go back to, Joe has the idea to take him and his father up to this cabin and just turn it down for the winter because they don't really go out there that much. And so when they do, they find out that somebody has stashed drugs there. And none of them have done this, so it turns out that it was one of his closest friends that did it. And as they find out, the people that stashed the drugs there are coming back to pick it up. And so you can only guess what happens next. And they just kind of get into this reoccurring sequence of not trying to hand over these drugs to these people because they know they will get killed at the end. So it's just a battle against good and evil, and I enjoyed it. Without spoiling anything, I think it's a great time just to sit back, relax, and it's not really a long movie, so you're not wasting a lot of time, and I honestly think you should give it a shot. There's just something very likable about Jason Momoa, especially in this movie. He plays a very likable, he's a scary guy in this movie. I mean, he's big. I think he's 6'4" in real life and stuff like that. So his stature among everybody else in this film is just you can tell when he is on screen that he's the biggest guy on screen. And so you don't really feel that he's in danger even though he's up against all these bad people. And it's just kind of funny to see him fight these people that are miniature towards him, and he's a big guy, so you do get a sense that he is in danger, but I'm just saying you have a feeling that he's going to overcome it. And that's what kind of is not 100% great about this film, is because it doesn't make a lot of sense. But like I said, you got to turn off your brain when you watch this film, and honestly I think it is a good time, and I recommend it to you guys. As well as people in this movie is Garrett Dillahunt. He is an actor that I don't know that much of. I remember he was in this show called Raising Hope, and I remember watching a few episodes of that when it first came out, and it's a good show. I recommend that show too. It was really funny, as I recall. I haven't watched it in so long, but that's the only other role I remember him. He plays the main antagonist in this movie. He's the big drug dealer guy, and yeah, he's just basically the boss, and he is the one who gets to fight Jason Momoa at the very end. And just warning you right now, without spoiling anything, the end fight sequence, it's a lot to take in. Just letting you know. Also in this movie is Stephen Lang. I think a lot of people know who Stephen Lang is. I mainly know him from Avatar, but God, he was in a horror movie I watched a long time ago. It's where he's blind and like you have to be silent to creep around the house and stuff. And yeah, but also that movie as well. And so I know him from a fair amount of movies. He's a well-known name in Hollywood. And so he plays the grandfather of Joe. And the trailers didn't give this away, so I'm not going to give it away either. But like, there is another thing going on in this film that you have to take care of besides what is happening at the cabin. And so I'm just letting you guys know that right off the bat. Nobody really else worth mentioning in this film. It's just the main characters are Stephen Lang, Jason Momoa, and Garrett Dillahunt. And that's about it. Joe has a daughter in this film and also a wife. Nothing really to mention about them. But yeah, those are just the main actors in this film. And like I said, I think it's a good time. I think it's worth a watch. My score for this film would probably be a B-, because it's not really a movie that would be nominated for any outstanding awards or anything, or like action sequences, like the choreography of this film, or like the just stunts in general. It's just nothing over the top, but it is also a good time. And I think it's worth your guys' time. So if you guys have a chance to check it out, it's on Netflix, and I do recommend it. Braven. So next on the list is a movie I watched fairly recently over the weekend. And I'll just be honest with you guys right off the bat. I'm not a guy who usually goes out of the way and watches animated films. So the only time I put on animated films is when I can't find anything else to watch or stream. And so to be honest, when I put this movie on, I'm really glad I did. Honestly, I highly recommend this movie. Soul is a great Pixar movie, and I think anybody will find enjoyment from this, no matter what you believe in, what will happen to us after we die and stuff like that. I think everybody will get something out of this film. So Soul is directed by Peter Docter and Kemp Powers. Starring in this movie is Jamie Foxx as Joe, and also Tina Fey, who plays 22. These are basically the main characters of this film, and both of them do a great job in my opinion. Joe, brief synopsis for you guys. Joe plays a guy who is a band teacher for middle school kids, and he wants more out of his life. He's a jazz performer, and he wants to get more and become more. And so like he gets this kind of gig finally, and he's just so happy that it happens to him. And all of a sudden, he dies. And so that's where our movie takes off from. I'm not giving anything away because this was all put in the trailer. When this happens, for people who haven't seen the trailer, it kind of catches you off guard because you're like just so on board with what's going to happen for Joe. He's working at this middle school. He's not happy with his life. He wants something more, and he wants to become more because like he has this huge amount of potential, and it's just being wasted at this middle school, in his opinion. And so when he dies, it's just like you really feel for the guy because like he was just about to make it. He's just about to get his big break, and so now that he died, it's just like oh crap. But that's where the movie takes place, like I said. And so when this happens, he's supposed to go to the great beyond. And he's not ready to die. So he kindly gets put into this other category where these souls who haven't yet come to Earth are. And he is put in the category of he is supposed to train some of these souls to like find out what they want to be when they get on Earth. And he lands this person named 22, the soul, played by Tina Fey. And that's where the movie really progresses and really comes forth and really shows a lot of Pixar's best elements in films, and it's just all put together in this one film. And it's really a little gut-punching sometimes and heart-wrenching. I'll be honest right now, I have cried maybe a fair amount of times in some Pixar movies, but for this movie, it is sad. There are some sad elements in this movie, but nothing really hurt me to my core. I mean, there's stuff I can relate to in this movie, but other than that, like, stuff that really, like, broke me down into tears, not really that bad. So I think people who do cry in these types of movies, I think you'll be fine. Just warning you guys that if you're scared to cry, I think you'll be fine. Jamie Foxx really does a good job at the voice work for Joe. You really just feel for the guy, and I feel like Jamie Foxx, for a voice acting in this film, really put his all into this and like emphasized of how much Joe really wanted to become a jazz musician and how life was really like just really hurting him to his core. And so you could just feel that from Jamie Foxx's voice acting in this film, and I really appreciated that. As well as Tina Fey. I really liked her character, 22. She's very knowledgeable of Earth, even though she has not yet been there, and she really doesn't have any intention to going to Earth, but that's where Joe comes in. And so in order for him to maybe get back to Earth, he has to persuade her and help her find her calling on Earth to help her get to Earth. And in that way, Joe can get back to Earth, supposedly. And like I said, I think this movie is a great watch. It's very intriguing. Pixar does great with these types of movies. I don't think Pixar has ever had a very bad movie, to be honest. And honestly, this is going to make me want to watch more Pixar movies, to be honest, when they come out, and not really steer away from them. Maybe this movie actually just made me get back into animated films, to be honest. I don't know, but I'm really glad I watched this, and I kind of want to look forward to more Pixar and animated films. So my score of this movie is an A. Solid A. This is a great movie. Great for all ages, honestly. And to be honest, this is more of an adult movie than a kid's movie. I feel like a lot of elements in this film, a lot of things that are mentioned in this movie, kids won't get, or they won't be intrigued with. And this is a movie for adults, in my opinion. So I think adults will get a lot more out of this than kids. So I'm just letting you guys know that. And I think if that helps you, leads you more towards this film, then I'm glad I got to say that. But I'm just letting you guys know adults will not be bored in this film. So next on my list is a movie that came out fairly recently, and it's getting a lot of criticism now. The movie I'm talking about is Wonder Woman 1984. It is directed yet again by Patty Jenkins, who directed the first Wonder Woman movie in 2017, and also starring Gal Gadot and Chris Pine as Steve Trevor. Now, a lot of people are hating this movie, and honestly, I understand where the hate is coming from, but at the end of the day, it's a DC comic book movie. It's not supposed to be taken as realistic. I just feel people are taking stuff way too seriously nowadays, and I had fun with this movie. I thought it was an enjoyable time. It's not the best movie ever made. Honestly, it is not the best movie ever made. I know that, but it's also a movie that I bring up the subject yet again. It's just a movie you have to turn your brain off when you're watching this. It's nothing you should like write home about and say like, oh, this totally made sense why this happened, or I honestly could see why that happened, and I'm glad they told us how it happened. It's not something that you really need to think about. It's just enjoyable action and fantasy. That's basically what it is. And Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman yet again is just great. A lot of people who doubted her when she first got casted in the Wonder Woman role, they were put to rest once they saw her in Wonder Woman. And I think this proves a point yet again, her in this movie. She does great as Wonder Woman, and I think she was a great pick as this character. Chris Pine as Steve Trevor, he's back in this movie. I don't know if you guys have watched the first movie, so I'm not going to spoil it, but he's back. Something happened to him in the first movie, but he's back in this one. And the way they bring him back, it's kind of cool, to be honest. I don't read, like I've said in past videos, I don't read a lot of comic books, especially Wonder Woman. I haven't read a lot of comic books from her. But I heard a lot of people talking and like speculating that this could be the way they bring him back. And I didn't really know about this until I watched this movie, and I'm all like, makes sense. I understand. I get it. It's cool. It's a cool concept how they brought his character back into this movie. And I enjoyed it. I like Chris Pine. He's a great actor. I like him as an actor and the roles he's been in. And he does, yet again, a great Steve Trevor. From what I know of Steve Trevor, I don't know much about him from the comic books, but from what I saw in the last movie, he does a great job in that. He does a great job in this. But also in this movie is Pedro Pascal and Kristen Wiig. They're both the main antagonists of this movie. Pedro plays Maxwell Lord, and Kristen Wiig plays Barbara Minerva. And their characters both in this movie, they're great villains. Kristen Wiig, I think, shined in this role. I think she did a great job as Barbara. Her character, it's kind of a sad story for her character in this movie, to see what she is in the beginning and how she ends up in the end. And it's just, yeah, it's kind of a tragedy, to be honest, without giving anything away, but like you really feel for her in this movie, and I think that shows signs of a great actress if you feel for her character, even though she's an antagonist. But for Pedro Pascal, his character Maxwell, he's another villain I think I kind of liked in this movie. Not as much as Kristen Wiig's villain, as her character Barbara, But his villain in this movie too, you kind of feel bad for a little bit. I'm not going to give anything away because I don't want to give away what the trailer hasn't given away for people who have not watched this yet. But you kind of feel for him. He is down on his luck in parts in this movie, and you just want to see him succeed in a way. But the way he does it is when you start disagreeing with him and feeling like, maybe you shouldn't have done it that way. I don't agree with you. I'm kind of walking out on you, man. I don't back you up no more. But he really sold this role, and he gave it a lot. He had fun with this role, and you could see it on screen. He did a really good job as Maxwell. He's been in a lot recently, and he's getting casted in a lot more movies and film and TV. And to see him in this big budget movie with Gal Gadot and Kristen Wiig and Chris Pine, it's cool to see him get a lot more roles because he deserves it. He's a great actor, and I enjoyed him in this movie as well. But the movie as a whole, I just want to talk briefly before I run out of time. Wonder Woman 1984, not as good as the first one, but it's still a good time. I hope the reviews don't lead you away from this movie because I think a lot of people get enjoyment from this, especially the younger audience who doesn't really think too much about film, like questioning certain things in movies. So yeah, it's just a movie that you don't really need to think about. It's just a movie that you could just enjoy by just watching. It's just a movie you could enjoy from getting some nostalgia from it because it's based in 1984. So for people who grew up in the 80s, you will see a lot of 80s nostalgia in this movie, and I think that's pretty cool. I'm a fan of the 80s, even though I grew up in the 90s. So it's just cool to see that take place in this film and just go back and relive that type of life that the 80s brought to people. So that's just something else I want to say. I think they did a good job with that as well. And so 1984 Wonder Woman, I will give it a B-. It's not great, it's not bad. It's just really in between, and it's enjoyable. A lot of people get enjoyment out of this if they just give it a chance, in my opinion. That is gonna be it, guys, today. Wonder Woman, Soul, and Braven. I hope you guys took what I said in this movie to heart, and you might want to go and stream them on TV, because they're all on TV right now. Disney Plus, HBO Max, and Netflix. I think these movies are all worth your time, and I think you guys will get a kick out of it if you just don't question a lot of what is put into these movies and just don't take it too seriously. They're just movies at the end of the day. They're just here for our enjoyment, and I don't think they're boring at the very least. They are very enjoyable for a wide variety of audiences, and yeah, just take my word for it. I'm trying not to lead you guys astray. But yeah, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed my little short brief Are They Worth It segment with these 3 movies, and I hope you guys come back for my next episode when I do another trilogy of movies that I've watched along the week and pass them on to you and let you guys know if they're worth it or not. But that will do it for today, guys. I hope you guys are having a great day, and I'll see you in my next video. Peace.